from the front porch here with BP. Man, I'm glad that you folks tuning in today to our little program. Beautiful day the Lord has made. Sunshine, the wind's got a nice little warm breeze to it. Here's some loggers over there in the background cutting down some trees. You know, I've been pondering. I do a lot of that sometimes, pondering on life and the blessings of life. And I've been pondering this week on the golden rule. If you don't know the golden rule, it states you treat others like you want to be treated. That's just in simple terms. As I pondered on that, I remember a story I read way back. It was about a king. The king didn't have an heir to his throne. And he wanted an heir to his throne, and he decided to have some interviews with all of his young men in the kingdom and choose a young man to be the successor to the throne. There's one prerequisite for being a candidate was that you had to have a good heart. So he sent out the invitations to all the folks, and lo and behold, they were all excited about it. And there was one little boy who lived 3 days away from the kingdom, and he was from a poor family. He didn't have nothing, but he was excited about coming over and interviewing for the king. And so he worked hard, and against all odds and all the naysayers, he worked hard, and he saved him up some money, bought him some good clothes, was able to get him some supplies to make the 3-day journey to the palace to see the king. And the day came for him to leave, and he took off on the trip. The first day went fine. Second day was just fine. On the third day, about halfway to the palace on the third day, he encountered a beggar on the side of the road. Now, this old beggar was an old man. It's real scraggly looking. And when he saw the young man walking down the road, he looked at the young man. They made eye contact, and he asked the young man to help him because he was cold. "Help me, young man. I'm cold and I'm hungry." Now, what was this boy going to do? He didn't have anything on his back but the clothes he had bought to interview with the king, and he had a few little measly supplies left, but his heart took over. And he came to the side of the road, and he fed the man the supplies that he had, and he took off the warm clothes that he had and put them on the beggar, and took the beggar's clothes off, and he put those on, and they said their goodbyes, and he went on his trip to the palace. When we got to the palace, the servants of the king were there, and they looked at him and said, "Oh my, you can't see the king like this. At least come in here and wash your face, clean up." So they took him into a room, cleaned him up, but he didn't give him any clothes to wear. He had those little tattered clothes on. And they fed him, and then they ushered him into the throne room of the king. And when he got into the throne room of the king, first thing caught his mind was that, boy, the king looked kind of familiar. And he stepped lightly around the king, listened to what the king said, and he caught looking at the king in a different way. And then in an instant, he knew that the king was the beggar on the road. And he cried out to the king, "You're the beggar on the road." And the king said, "Yes, I am, son. I sure am." And of course, the little boy shook his head, and he said he was thinking about his clothes and all that, and he wasn't prepared, and he was so nervous. And he said, "Why'd you do this to me?" And the king said, "Son, to be the king is an important job. And the person that I want to be king has to got to have a good heart so he can take care of my people in the kingdom. All different kinds of folks." And he said, "When you saw me as a beggar on the road, your heart took over. And you helped an old beggar that couldn't do anything for you back. You were generous. You treated someone like you would want to be treated." That's the prerequisite to being a king. And today, son, you're going to be the heir to my kingdom because of your heart. You know, that's a good story, good illustration. I like it. Sometimes give me cold chills telling that story because, you know, that's how we are going to be treated if we treat folks like we want to be treated in Jesus. You know, Jesus loved us enough to come and live and die on a cross because his Father sent him. And he made that ultimate sacrifice. He treated us in a way that nobody else could have treated us. He loved us enough to die for our sin. And one day, we're going to get to be entered into the kingdom and see the King. Folks, this is BP, and I'm sitting on the front porch. And I appreciate you tuning in today. Bye.